start with issues relating to the SIM card registration. This afternoon, 9 million subscribers are unable to make calls or even send text messages as the National Communications Authority is carrying out its threat to deactivate SIM cards of subscribers who have failed to register their SIM cards with the Ghana card. Some subscribers have thronged the service centers in a desperate attempt to reactivate their SIM cards. They spoke to my colleague, Benis Abubeidu, earlier.
And it's the day after members of the telcos chamber that MTN, Vodafone and Airtel Tigo began implementing the directive by the Ministry of Communications contained in a letter dated 11th of November 2022. So we're here to assess the impact of this SIM card blockage. You will remember, or you may recall, that on the 20th of November, they began the gradual deactivation of certain services like data, phone calls. But this time, if your SIM card is blocked, you are not accessing any service, including emergency services, and that tells you how terrible this blockage is. So we are here to find out from some of the clients who are here today how this has affected them and why they have waited this long before coming to register for their SIM cards. I'm told by those who work here that on a typical day you won't see this particular number of people gathered here, and they assume it's because of the blockage that started yesterday. Good morning, Pache Efrausing.
From Kwabna.
Now, at the end of MTN office, I'm pay.
I'm by matric and Rame Bahanamo from Anopa, Kusia Numreno, Nina network, and Anope Masiaba. I was here before they came, but still they haven't even completed one person pool.
I've already registered, they have done everything for it, but I don't know that they will cancel or do something like that. So as I put my SIM inside the phone, the internet is not ready. They say I should fill the full registration. Okay. So I did not know. That's why I don't know. But the other ones that I've already done everything.
Okay. So this one you've not done the biometric.
Yeah, this one I've not. But I've registered it already. But I've not do the completed registration.
Okay. So you didn't hear in the news that they were going to block.
I have time to watch TV and this thing. That's
Thank you for talking to us, Ebenezer. But I mean, where would you have been on a typical day, and how is this affecting you?
Oh, it's affecting me, but I have to take it as a normal thing. It's happy. So you have.
How long have you been here this morning?
Oh, around 6.
And why have you not been attended to? Have you been told why?
The network is bad, so we should wait small.
So that's another gentleman who stayed here for quite some time due to network issues. Now, if you follow me, you'd realize that the queue doesn't just end here. It goes all the way to that side, all the way to the back, and there are people who are encountering different challenges. Earlier, I met a gentleman and his mother who say they are Cameroonians and they had registered with their passport. What is happening is that they received a message, according to him, that his number had been registered, and I asked him if he didn't know he had to use the Ghana card, and he said in fact he just got his Ghana card this week, but his number has been blocked. I think he just left the queue because I can't find him. Let me try and see if I can speak to a few more people to find out from them the impact of this directive on them. Good morning, Pache Efrausing.
Salam.
Na me patrol anope den e do abaha. So this gentleman says that his WhatsApp services aren't working. As you may be aware, you need data to use WhatsApp. Now, my patron will say enra, which is 30th November. Now, I'm buying an Ministry of Communications. So more register more SIM cards in I am blocking Sanyama way na. Oh, yeah, driver. Kwanso nti ene wa hai ede na wo hwere wo ejuma bi kwa na bibisa
mirese.
This gentleman says he's a driver. He actually knew of the directive from the Ministry of Communications, but says he was on the road working, so there was no way he could actually make time to register his SIM. And today is his day off, and that's how he's able to do so. Let me find out if I can speak to a few people. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Mohammed.
Mohammed. Na anope den edo abaha.
Pacho misim no omugusu send message say me register. First me decline by na omo say Omunjindi say by ye and I ye omuji miami as we say obi omali say omali say into actually me ko o state o ma omuli sa ko nchen ho me ko omali sa enso engagement ansa e woman me WhatsApp line na kate into na anura ma batena hasa by say 3 o'clock na me san ko e ti anapai aja me san ba ha bio
na me patro omo nkwanche na wo ka no omo fa wonsa
omo fa me nsa actually phone say start na omo kita no omo say omali sa inti tembia omugusu say ni message say me say no marriage sa edcon den on batwa enti na ma sa ba han
na one unim short code na ye de check say why you fully registered na
me de ba han obi check e na ambai.
Okay. Right. So Mohammed is also a victim of what I may want to refer to as roadside registration people, if there's anything like that. But these persons are basically not in the offices. Some of them are mobile money agents who offer registration services. Okay, so they did it for him for free, but the unfortunate thing is that he's still not registered. Okay, so this gentleman is actually telling me something. We need to go back to him. One on the register ma ojusika. Okay. Okay, so these people I refer to as roadside registration officers, for lack of a better expression, actually sometimes, according to this man's story, will charge you for doing it. Now,
I see fingerprints. So I must say about me checking soon about I'm doing a much.
Oh, checking and what did that number be checking?
Me check it 400 # star 400 #. Oh, senior.
All right, so it's just some interesting revelations we are getting here of people taking advantage of the situation to swindle others who may not have had the time to register, and so they're going to them in their various localities. And this man is a victim here. He says that he actually paid. What you are saying? What you are saying? He paid 10 cedis to get registered, and unfortunately, he finds himself back here because the registration didn't happen. Me pa try to saying.
Yeah.
I no pay.
O me SIM card nintina me ba register wa hadada. O ma ya me bibia wa hadada. Me wo na me nya message say me dia na emba. Ene ndo aton esan ba ha. Network na nya djuma fa no pass ya transfer 5. We no djuma fo nyina na e pon coffee. And esan ba no pa still the network na nya djuma.
Na me pa cho o se o mu ye bibia ma o mu je won san no so.
Na ma chop picture ni nyina me dimi san to de no so ni nyina fi da me ti message ni say emba enti me san ento ma lock me WhatsApp ni nyina
Put me your call.
And for the minimum sister your call but minimum say the ma chop I don't know
What you feel saying?
Fidelia.
Okay, so for Fidelia here, she says she's done everything, and she did it right here at this office. They took her biometrics, they took her photograph, but she received a message that her number will be blocked because she's not completed her registration. I was finding out from her what kind of services she can't access. She says data, WhatsApp, but she was able to make a phone call today. Into fingerprints, a picture, but still I ain't registered.
Yeah, me standing in our house. My yelling in our house. And to imagine me pictures made me sent to any in our so. And to me say, baby, I okay. And you mean coming me couldn't buy me couldn't ba. Median and buy this my message, but I mean who phone to say. And my kind so my blocking me were cheap and WhatsApp in
But it's all down to the fact that their data services especially are being cut. So if you're one of those who has not fully registered, the Telecoms Chamber tells us that this is only affecting those who have done the first part of the registration and not captured their biometrics. So if you haven't done the registration at all because you don't have a Ghana card, you're not going to be affected by this. But if you've done the first part of your registration, kindly find a way of completing it so that your data services, your SMS services, your call services, and most importantly, emergency services are not.
Let's explore the implications of this exercise, especially when we have millions of Ghanaians who are yet to get their Ghana card. Joining me now is the Kosia Frimpoma Sapong, who is the chairperson of the Convention People's Party. The party says it is equally concerned about the deactivation of some 9 million cards. It's good to have you here on the polls. But let's get the concerns of the CPP clearly. Is it the case that you're asking for an extension, or perhaps how do you feel government should be going about this policy?
Thank you very much, and let me say hi to all your viewers. It's more than extension. I personally, I don't even understand why the media is not putting so much pressure on this minister, and she's getting away. I mean, technically with murder. What she's doing is not right. What is the point? What are they trying to take? What did she say? She's taking. They called me, took all my information. Then now I have to now connect. Me myself have to go there to connect. Wherever I went to, they didn't have the network wasn't working. So I stayed there and I stopped. But they took the information already. What is she doing? What is happening? What is she doing with NIA? Where is the NIA data that they took from us? Why are they not connecting? Please, media, why are you not asking the right questions?
If you're talking about the questions have been explained, I guess. The sector minister says, and just hold on for me a minute. The sector minister says,
demand answers from her.
Just a minute. The sector minister says, if it's about the National Identification Authority, that's not within my purview. I'm just paraphrasing what it is that the minister says. So why not blame the NIA
for the communication minister who has asked the telecos to take my data off, not NIA. That is just shifting blame. The data is under communication minister. The president must take the digital information thing from the communication ministry. They don't have a clue what the...
Well, it appears that we're having some challenges there with the connection to Nanakoja Sarpongo. Is the chairperson of the Convention People's Party. The party believes that beyond extension, there are equally critical questions that should be, of course, put to the sector minister, Esla Osu-Akufo, who they believe is not acting in good faith. Well, in terms of the extension of the deadline and whatever it is that you need to know, here are steps of what you need to know on your screens right now, giving us a sense as to what's even happening, even in terms of some data for you. So here's it. In terms of the starting date itself for all of this, we know that the 1st of October 2021, that's when we had the exercise takeoff. Then the first deadline was set for the 31st of March 2022. Obviously, looking at the number of registrants in terms of the NIA cards, that's the National Identification Cards, or the Ghana cards as we popularly refer to them, the ministry, and by extension the minister as well, said she was reluctantly, those were her words, extending the deadline to somewhere around August. So the next extension was the 31st of July, after which August, some punitive measures were supposed to be taking off. Then there was another window again, extending that exercise to the 31st of September with a clear sanction of some phased out or face-to-face implementation of sanctions once you do not get registered. So data clearly is indicating to us that there was a 90% drop in the SIM registrations as soon as we had the first deadline extended, and that was part of the concerns of the National Communications Authority. The fact that many more people were buying time anytime, of course, there was a lapse in the system where NTA and, of course, the Ministry of Communications had to give an extended deadline. So beyond that, we need to also paint a picture of how many people have been registered and what we are looking at in terms of the penetration so far. So if you're looking at the registration details now, you see that total voice SIMs as of the 20th of July 2020 was amounting to some 42,121,921, representing the full set of SIM cards that have been issued as of 20th of July 2022. But the requirement is that you need to go through a two-phase registration process. So as of the first phase on the 20th of July 2022, we had over 60% of Ghanaians, or let me say owners of SIM cards, because you can't necessarily connect the 42 million to the individuals. You can only deal with the number of SIM cards. So about 60% of the total number of voice SIMs that we have across the country were linked to at least a Ghana card. The maximum you can do, obviously, will be 10. And so we know that it's quite a significant number of the SIM cards were connected to the Ghana card. But many were unable. And if you look at the figures there, 38% of the people were that tiny population that were able to scale through and to do the second part of the requirements in terms of doing their registration. So a significant portion of some 62% were unable to go through and to do the stage 2 registration, which is the complete exercise of registering your SIM card. And basically that's why we're having some of the challenges that we're having now. Some 9 million persons unable to make calls. Some do say that, well, at the time the connection was done, their Ghana cards had to be replaced, and so many excuses that we're hearing of. And part of it is why we're having the CPP raise some concerns. So let's speak to Nana Akosua, who's joining us back on Zoom. Apologies there for losing you earlier. Nana Frimpoma, apologies for losing you there earlier. But the question about what you intend to do now, I guess we need to explore that. What will be the next line of action for the CPP? Because you are saying that let's take on the communications minister.
I think this problem, it has nothing to do with CPP. It has to do with the country. 9 million people, not CPP. I can't even, that is why I'm charging and asking the fourth estate, the media, to take up this responsibility. We've spoken.
And Nana Frimpoma, if you can just appears we were unable to hear you. If you could just, of course, reconnect that for us, so we can get the point. Yes, you're back on. So yeah, you're making the point about this being a matter of national security that average Ghanaian should be concerned about. Nana, you'd have to unmute once more. Let's try if we can get that through again.
9 million Ghanaians.
Right.
And I'm most certain that the people you saw in the queue are mainly the vulnerable, those that really don't have the time. And a chunk of them are stuck in the villages. This is so unfair. It does not make no sense. It doesn't make no digital, there's no justification in the digital technology, in this information world, in this technological era for this kind of mess. There's no justification. We are asking, the minister is doing something that she has no clue, no understanding, and the whole Ministry of Communication, it's just completely wasting our time. They called me, took all my information and everything. And all they had to do was connect me to the NIA. Is there a problem between the Ministry of Communication and NIA? It looks like there is a rift there. And that is what they should try and solve. If they can solve and handle their problem, we Ghanaians would work better. Because if there weren't any problem, they have already taken my biodata. Why can't they connect me? Why can't I just go there with a code or dial a code and get authenticated? Wasn't the same minister who came online to tell us that we can do this online, that we can do it with a code, that it can be done, that you pay 5 Ghana cedis? Do you know how many times I've gone to the center and they can't connect me because the systems are down? So the point I'm making clearly is that this is most unacceptable. There is I don't even know who needs our data. Somebody is collecting our data for purposes that we need to question as a nation. This has nothing to do with CPP. It has to do with a nation. And if the government in power cannot do it, then we are going to have to fall on the fourth extreme. We have to fall on the media, give them the pressure. We are falling on the youth of this country. People should start asking, intelligent youth should start asking questions. Those of you who understand IT should know that something is amiss, something is wrong. They are taking our data and selling it left and right or giving it out there without knowing. Why should I go to MTN to give them my data? Go biometrics, go to product, do the same thing. If I have 3 lines, go to the other telephone company and do the same thing. When I have given my bio data already to NIA, let me tell you something. Initially, the NIA concept that I understood was that they would collect our data and be able to have it secured. And for that reason, if anybody needed to really verify me, all the person needed to do was take my national ID card and then connect it to whatever they were trying to do and dial into the NIA data center or whichever data center was going to store the information. It should then pull verified or not verified. My name should come, my face should come, and then the person who is there can then authenticate that it's me or not me. But now that they are giving that data to a private sector, indeed, they are forcing us to give that data to a private sector. They have wasted the time of NIA and spent so much money. The money that they paid margins to be able to do this. What was the purpose? They paid it. How are we going to recoup that money? Now, if they just can take my information, then now the private individual, the private institution is even much richer, but much more resourced in terms of having information on me, because they have my talk time, they have everything, my data, they know what I do online, everything, and now they have also my biometrics. Where in the world is this done, except Ghana? Where in the world is this done? We copy blindly. I'm daring that Ministry of Communication to come and tell us what it says, why they are collecting this, forcing us, indeed, pushing us to a corner, forcing us literally. They blocked my business, blocked every other people's business. People can't make calls. And there are people who have really genuine, real reason why they don't have the NIA, the communication card. So indeed, what they are saying is that my problem is the fact that I did the semi-registration. If it didn't complete, what has that got to do with me? If their lines are down, what has that got to do with me? Please, Honorable Esla Owusu, for goodness sake, you are the very person that was preaching about cluelessness and incompetence and everything. This is the peak of it. This is the peak of it. Beyond this, there's no other word except somebody who is now mortgaging the whole country. Somebody is mortgaging us for peanuts. And we need to look at it.
Well, I guess we'll not be responsible for the opinion you're passing now.
I understand. I don't want you to be responsible.
Yeah, that will entirely...
I am speaking. I want somebody to challenge me, to prove to me why they're doing this. Because I understand data. I understand data. I understand IT. And I know this is not the way. Nowhere. Why? Why would the government pay so much money, collect my fingerprints, collect my facial, put it into a data? It should be secured. And now you are forcing me to give it to all the telcos. Why will you do that? If it's not because you have an ulterior motive or cluelessness. Either you have a motive or you are clueless. And you are not listening. I don't want it to be like it's an opposition. I am a Ghanaian and I care about the people of this country. Everybody knows my background. I have worked for the youth of this country, and that's all I'm interested in. No matter what, even if I'm taken to the gallows, I will still stand for the youth of Ghana. This is not acceptable to our children. It is not working. Somebody is doing something very, very wrong. And if she's not going to listen, we need to say something that will let them listen. And the only way for me to say it is to say that, yes, indeed, I'm being mortgaged. And that one, I'm sure somebody's going to come out there and start now listening and hearing. Until you say something like that, nobody listens to you.
Right.
I have done a press conference months ago when this thing came out because I thought it would be cut off. And it's so simple. It's so simple. Let them connect me. I have my phone number here. And a simple artificial intelligence will tell everybody that this is me and these are my children and these are the people I talk to. Connect me to that system. At least now you have taken my biometrics. You have it there. Now you want me to give it to them. I am angry. This is similar to slavery. This is exactly what happened to us in our forefathers when they didn't know what they were doing. Now we know what we are doing. Look at what we are doing today. We have sold our gold for peanuts. We sold our bauxite for peanuts. We sold oil, everything for peanuts. We sold our talk time for peanuts. We don't even have access to our own talk time in this country. We don't own no telephone company. We don't own no data. And now just collecting my biometrics you are now selling it to the private sector. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Interesting questions you're asking there. I guess the conversation will continue.
And it's questions that I want you to demand an answer.
Right.
There are people in the media who are IT intellectuals who can call people and find out why there is whatever Esla said. I listened to her. There is no for authentication. If you want to authenticate who I am, you don't need to collect my information again with the telcos. Are you not a government? Are you not for the people? You're supposed to represent me and represent my children and our grandchildren. You're supposed to protect us. Who is protecting us? Clueless people?
I get your concerns. We'll still keep asking the questions. I guess that's all we can do for now. Nana Frimpoma, we are grateful for your time here on The Pulse. Chairperson of the Convention People's Party, the International Monetary Fund has arrived in Ghana to broker talks on policies and reforms that will help the country secure a facility that will help restore Ghana's macroeconomic stability. But with ratings agency Moody's further downgrading the country to junk status, warning, of course, to investors that they risk losing out in the debt restructuring program should they decide to transact business with Ghana. We ask, will the country's outlook slow down our journey to assessing the IMF grant? Well, joining me now is Professor Lok Mensah, an economist and also Associate Professor at the Department of Finance, University of Ghana Business School. Thank you, Prof. You were with us yesterday. Today you're spending some time with us again. But it's good news to know that at least the team has confirmed that they've started engagements. Initially, the president was working with the timeline of ending almost everything regarding the talks and staff level agreement by the end of December. Should we still be looking forward to that timeline?
Yeah, I think, yes. From now to the end of December, we still have more time. And I believe with the intensity of the engagement now, probably we may have a staff level program by the end of, December. So, yes, we are within time. And I believe it should be able to be something that we can realize, within this month.
And what then will be the key issues? What do you see as the key issues featuring this time around in this phase of the negotiations? Some have talked about the debt restructuring, which government hasn't openly told us what approach they're going to be pursuing. But what do you see happening in the few days to come?
Yeah, I think the main issue will be the budget that was read and how feasible that budget can be, realized. We understand that it is a budget, but then that budget needs to achieve something. And I believe that it's a budget that the IMF will be interested in a sense that it is a budget that will position, the country for the program. And so they may have to go into details to see, how, realistic those numbers that have been projected as far as our expenditure lines are concerned. And then also the revenue lines are concerned, whether, we can realize, those revenues that have been projected. So the possible financing of those, the budget deficit. I think it will be a center of discussion, I mean, going forward. And I know the IMF will be interested in that.
So of course, macroeconomic indicators for now, looking at some of them, not necessarily macroeconomic indicators, but in fact, the issue about fuel prices. It may be part of the inflationary argument. We're beginning to see that some marginal drops are happening, at least with oil on the open market as we speak. Is this a sign that indeed governments, emergency response measures are beginning to take effect? Is that the explanation to what's happening right now?
Yeah, if you look at the dynamics of our interest rate structures, the exchange rate and all, it looks like we have peaked. And now what we need to realize is how we can come down. And the government seems to be, putting up measures that possibly will bring some of these indicators down so that Ghanaians will have that kind of, possible relief. Because, interest rate getting to a level where we're looking at about 30% and above, and then inflation hitting around 42% I mean, clearly, it tells you that we have peaked. For now, it behoves on the government's policies to bring us down to the level where Ghanaians can be relieved. So there seems to be that kind of signal on the ground that we are getting relief, all right. But then, hey, the global market too is, getting that kind of direction where things will start getting better. So transcending to the Ghanaian environment is not bad, but we need to speed up, things.
And finally, we're looking forward to next year, 2023. What's your outlook? Some have predicted tough times. Of course, the IMF pointing to some very troubling times for us ahead. But personally, what's your outlook?
Yeah, troubling time depends on where you sit. I think for now, if we should get an IMF program, definitely there's going to be hard times in certain circles. Push government to cut down expenditure lines, possibly push government to raise revenue. And the signals were in the budget. The budget that was read where government is looking at 2.5 VAT introduction. So even if fuel price comes down the global market, and the intention is for it to transcend to our local market, that VAT of 2.5 may kind of offset this kind of benefit that we're supposed to enjoy from, the downward spiral in, fuel price on the global market. So for me, it is something that, we're going to face, hardship going forward. But I mean, it's for our own good, until we get an IMF program where the dollar can easily be completely tamed down, for which, if you look at the budget that was read, government intends to spend into sectors that are sensitive. And I believe that if indeed we should spend into those areas, we should get relief by second half of next year.
Well, we'll be on the lookout for what then happens, but we're grateful for your time, Professor Lord Mensah, Associate Professor in the Department of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School. Now.